Pentelresco. I write stuff. I dabble in illustration now. I can't really say I'm not an illustrator anymore. And I now just say I say broadcast and not podcast because I'm doing a little bit of everything. And I'm with the one and only network executive himself. He has secretly, been plotting to take over the Indie airwaves with his Go Indie Now channel, and he's been doing it for quite some time. He is the one and only Joe Compton. How you doing, buddy?
I am fantastic. How about yourself, sir?
I am causing chaos and mayhem wherever I go. It's just that is just my jam and how I roll.
Yeah, so, that's perfect for you. It's the gig you were born to do.
Absolutely, I love causing. I love causing. I realized, like I said, a long time ago that for me, my goal when I create anything is I hopefully surprise people that I watch, but get my stuff. I create a reaction from the surprise. But I hope I also make you think, and that's kind of how I do. I don't see things like most. Now I don't see it like anybody else from what I can tell, and I actually think that's my big advantage. So, but this has been a crazy year, has it not?
To say the least, yes, for sure. Life is interesting,
Weird.
Well, it's always been a little weird, but that's okay. I'm okay with weird. It's the challenge is to keep moving forward and being positive when it doesn't seem like there's positivity out there, but there really always is, and that's the thing. You just got to reach for it and grab it if you can find it. So.
One of the things I learned at like I said, this isn't my first apocalypse; it's my second. And one of the things I learned in the first apocalypse is that life goes on. It doesn't really matter what happens. Life is going to do its own damn thing.
Yeah.
In one very real sense, and I've said this in multiple interviews, the world has not changed at all. It is just right now we're just in a interesting little phase where there are parts of it I like. Actually, there are parts of it I like. You know what's been really cool for me this year? The people I've met. It has been a wildly, talk about an expansion of amazing people. I've been very blessed, and I should actually mention this really quickly before we continue. I gotta thank you. I gotta thank JD Estrada. I gotta thank Mark Park. I gotta thank anybody that actually gave me the opportunity to connect with interesting people throughout this year. Jennifer Ann Gordon's another one. Just because this time has been great for me in the sense that I've literally met some of the coolest people ever this year, and I would not have had this chance under normal circumstances. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm very, very grateful for that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. It's funny because normally for me it would be the exact opposite. Because I get out a lot and I go do festivals and things like that, and so that's when I usually meet the more bulk of more people than I normally would meet in one sitting or one thing. But this year has also been kind of an expansion too. So I mean, I've connected with some people who have people that they want to promote and put out there, and that's helped me out tremendously. So yeah, I'm appreciative of that for sure.
Do you ever find yourself surprised with the person you're sitting across the room from? Like, do you ever like that? Go, why am I here?
Yeah, I've had those moments. Sure.
Yeah.
The first year I did Slam Dance, it's pretty funny. First year I did Slam Dance, I got an opportunity to interview Emily Bett Ricards, who, for most people, would know her from the show Arrow. She was the main love interest in Arrow. And at the time, this was 2018, so Arrow was still on the air, and it was pretty prominent. And, she's for all intents and purposes famous, right? And that was kind of like, it's not the first famous person I've talked to or interviewed or anything, but it was kind of like being 5 feet from one another. It was interesting, and it just kind of opened my eyes to the idea that people are people. It doesn't really matter, the level. I mean, there are the uber famous and I haven't had any opportunities with any of those folks yet, but and I don't know how that's going to go. But I mean, I've had, I'm sure you've experienced this too, where people have had like demands or things that they want to say or don't want to talk about or something like that, or to this effect. And it's fine. I can work around anything and do anything if that, they're there to promote whatever they want to promote. So you got to talk about what they want to promote. But I looked at that moment and I go, I was just in the moment talking to people about their movie and the movie I just saw and enjoyed, and so I wanted to talk about it. And it's kind of like at that moment I was like, okay, that's what I do. That's what I like to do, and I think it's cool that I get to do it on camera and put it out to the world, because before it was just in private. So. And you still have those conversations outside of the camera and everything like that too. So that's pretty cool as well. So, and that's when you really get to know them and get to talk to them. But yeah, I've had those moments for sure.
So it's interesting because for me, the only people I've met a handful. Mm-hmm. I find so for me this is the interesting thing is. Eventually, with everybody I interview at some point, with very few exceptions, I get something out of them that they don't anticipate, right? Because what happens is my big advantage over the majority of, I think, people I interview is I really don't care what we talk about. Yeah. There's literally no limit. What I've learned to recognize is the degree of success. And you have to recognize what that person is. Like, I'll give you a great example. Jonas Saul, very cool dude.
Yeah,
we're gonna play frisbee someday. I know this because I interviewed him, and he enjoyed. He mentioned like he likes contact with frisbee. So one day we're gonna play contact frisbee just because it's fun. And it came out in an interview. But the thing you understand of someone like Jonas, who's done an incredible, successful career, is he's tasted success. And what I have found with people that are successful, they've learned to become more guarded with their time and their energy. And they have to. And you have to realize is that they have to. Because what happens is there's a lot of people that want to take from them different things. And to some degree, they expect that, to some degree. But there's also a point of, hey, I got to protect myself so you don't take everything I have. And that the more successful people you deal with, that's something that I'm very cognizant of when I interview them. So not just Jonas. I can give you a few other examples like Robert Sawyer, Fonda Lee, right? It's not a bad thing. Like I don't want people to get the wrong idea here. It's not a bad thing at all that they're like this, because what tends to happen is with that is we have this tendency as a. Hold on a second. Sorry, I hit the wrong button here. Okay, done. Right button now. No. What tends to happen is they are open to engagement, but because of the nature of what they've achieved, they've had to close some doors to protect themselves, and you have to understand that. Going in, the one time I interviewed a politician, the biggest thing I realized when I interviewed a politician is that they believe they believe it. They have to believe in what they're doing, right? And they have it's how you sell.
Yeah,
sales is about belief. It's always about belief. It's not about anything else. And they have to believe in what they're selling. So when you're dealing with a politician, you have to understand that you're going to be dealing with whatever hype they're promoting at the time. Doesn't mean if you corner them as human beings and you can do it, you can get them the best up, but you'll never do that on camera. Ever. Right. But off camera, you can. Again, they're human beings off camera, but on camera, you have to recognize, okay, this is a persona I'm dealing with here.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be able to get the same kind of interview as I could with, say, you. Not because you're going to become an uber successful guy someday, and when you do that, you're going to do the same thing. You'll have to be a little more guarded. You have to be. And But at the same time, this is the weird thing for guys like us. I work so well because I'm so open.
Right.
So I'm not sure what I'm going to have to do with that going forward.
I think it's more of the language of speaking than it is of what you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's more of the guardedness really comes from they're open to a certain extent, but it's the subject matter that you're approaching that would be open. Like if you're sitting there talking about their movie, they'll open up about the movie and what happens on set, as long as it's not something that embarrassing to them, or which it never is. I mean, you're always talking about if anybody's out there to try and get them to be embarrassed or anything, I don't look at that as journalism, or I don't look at that as a good interview. I look at that as somebody just trying to make a name for themselves, and that's not right. But I do think that when they speak, they know the words to say to be careful, and thus it seems like they're open, but they've also learned the vocabulary of being careful. So it's an easier transition to look like they're being careful and still look like they're being open. It's kind of a magic trick in that respect, but it's not really magic. It's just using the right words.
I think the word we're looking for here is diplomacy.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
A little bit. But it's not even so much diplomacy as it is there is a good word for it, but I can't think of it. But diplomacy is kind of the idea, but it's not even that, because you can, if they're doing a movie about a taboo subject, they're open to talk about the taboo subject, just as long as it's not reflected of them as that taboo subject. You know what I mean?
There's a clear line between their personal life and their persona. Mm-hmm. Right. That's I think the big thing between them is there's a difference there. Yeah. But you can sometimes get the two of them together, and that's really interesting when you do, because what tends to happen there is people have this tendency to how do I put this? They open up. Given enough time, it doesn't matter who you are, you open up. You just have to learn how to listen. And that's actually a very funny thing. I was mentioning this to a friend of mine last night. Like I did a bonus podcast last night. Yeah. I double booked. And after air, I told him about this. Like the real secret to interviewing, honestly, is listening. A lot of interviewers don't actually listen, which is really interesting.
Yeah, that's a skill set. It's something you have to learn too. I mean, and but if you're an interviewer and you're waiting to talk, that's not a very good interview anyway, because you're going to monopolize the conversation, and then you're not getting anything out of the person. So you want to have these open-ended questions where they're going to talk more than you're going to talk, and I think that helps the aspect of listening too.
But what do you deal when you deal with a quiet person? Because there's a tricky balance with that, because I have found that people that are quieter, you need to be able to carry the conversation as an interviewer as well. It really depends on the guest and how comfortable they are expressing themselves. Some people are just naturally quiet too, which I think is and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I just think that so one of my favorite people to interview is Riley Rossmo. I like him. He's a good dude. He's a really good dude, but he's a quiet guy. There's nothing. He's never gonna. He's very passionate about what he's passionate about, and to the rest, he doesn't say very many words. It's not how he expresses himself the best, right? And he would rather draw something, or again, actions go a lot more farther with him than words. And I think just my own opinion on him there, but again, he's a quiet guy, so you're not going to get a big in-depth unless he's really into it. He's really, really passionate about it. So,
all right, let's give a trade secret here. Something how to deal with quiet people is to ask them a question that they've never been asked before, of something that is very, very important to them. If you do enough research on anybody, you can find something that's going to trigger them to speak about it. And so, like, for example, if somebody was a big horror fan and they've always wanted to write horror, but they've never wrote horror. How come you've never wrote horror? I see you talk about horror all the time. And they'll give you the answer, because that's something they're real passionate about, and they'll want to talk about it. And that's probably a bad example, but you get the drift. It's basically get them to talk about something that they really, really like. And
Mhm.
once they do that, they knock the wall down. And
everybody's got those icebreakers. You gotta find them. For me, the interview that I always think about when through that one is Calvin Jim. Yes, I remember like when we started talking, it wasn't bad. We were having a good conversation, but there's like a moment, and I know it. I felt it when we were doing the interview too. The ice broke, and once the ice actually broke, right? It was, I mean, the conversation completely leveled up. Actually, Calvin's one of my favorite people to talk to, actually. So, he's a really, really deep, insightful dude. And it was like, but for that first 10, 15 minutes, there was a feeling out process in the interview. And you could feel it. And, but again, once the ice broke, it broke. And then it was like one of my favorite conversations that year, too. So.
I had a similar thing. Alexa Bryan, who is a young lady who's an activist in Canada who does Indigenous rights activism, and she's a second or third generation Indigenous in Canada, and she's young, so she was very nervous and very guarded at first. And then I talked to her. She's been raised and fostered by her grandmother. And so I talked to her a little bit about her grandmother and a couple of things that I found that nobody had ever asked her. And I asked her this question, and then boom, opened up, and it was a good conversation. It was again, that's the cool thing about it too. Once you get them unguarded and you feel that icebreaker, it becomes a really great conversation because you realize that they're really great people. They just needed an opportunity to show it.
Well, I think I just think it's just one of those things where you gotta find where people have something to say, like what something they really have something to say about, and giving them the confidence and to have that opinion. That's where ultimately listening actually kind of going full circle. Like a good interview is ultimately about listening. So. And
it's funny too because I'll be oftentimes, and I'm sure you've had this experience, somebody's first interview. And then they'll come back and they'll do another interview down the road, and I'll do those I'll see a difference in them because we've talked and gathered, So I'll see that happening, and that makes
looks like we got visitors. Right now, I'm interviewing Joe Compton of Go Indie Now on the broadcast, whatever you want to call it, and we're talking about interviews and what makes a good one and a bad one. So that's what we're doing right this minute. I'm going to eventually corner Joe, and I'm going to make him talk about his writing at some point because it's the one thing. Actually, why don't we just get into this? Okay, so for you've seen the crazy I've done this year. Like everything, I literally leaped into every single thing I possibly could this year.
Yeah.
Right. And to mix, I never thought I'd be illustrating stuff, dude. Not in a million years. But for you, where has been the comfort zone for you been this year?
Well, Go Indie Now is always my comfort zone. That's always where I feel most comfortable. But in writing wise, I mean, I released a book in March, which was my first book in 5 years. And then I did a screenplay, which is my first screenplay in 20 years during NaNoWriMo that I'm currently working on and working over and getting ready. And I'm going to make my first film that the last film I made was in 2001. And so I'm going to make my first film since then in the next couple of years with this. And it'll actually be my second attempt at a feature, but it'll officially be my first feature film. I also have a short film that I've had in my hand and been waiting for. In fact, here, it's right in this drawer. So I've had this in my drawer. It's called The Sting of the Sun.
Okay.
Nice. I've had that in my drawer for nearly 10 years now. And I'm going to make that first and get that done and get my legs back under me and use that opportunity to kind of get back into the flow of it and apply what I've learned from all my years of not only doing it, but talking to people about doing it, and then go and make the feature. And so that's the plan. So that's where I'm headed, and so I'm real excited about that. I haven't been able to say that in a long time. So that I just felt like it was time, because so I don't know if you want me to get into this or not.
I do. My question, actually, this was the question I was going to ask. Because I'm doing a comic next year, and it's kind of why. And I'm doing it, for me, it's because I've asked myself this question for this whole year, which was, if today was my last year, today was my last day, did I do everything I set out I wanted to do? My answer is no. Mm-hmm. And I asked myself, well, why not? Why didn't I do this? And this is where I was going to. Then this is where I was going to go to you, because I basically had to look up in the mirror, and it's like some of the things that I think I mentioned on your show was, I was looking for my niche as a freelancer for like 6 months before realizing I already have a niche. Oops. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. But again, it was under my nose the whole time. But the other thing that was under my nose the whole time was, I've always wanted to do comics.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, well, I got to hire an artist, and it costs a lot of money, and go to do this, and I'm like, well, I can do it. Right. And that's it. Like, but again, that mindset, I had to unlearn. Yeah. I had to unlearn. For me, it was about unlearning the fact that I couldn't draw. In fact, the drinking. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. That's one of the reasons I did the drink and draws, because
you want to get better.
You not only get better, but also I have no excuses anymore.
Yeah.
So I have no excuses anymore. I this year has been about eliminating my excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's turn it to you, buddy. Where are you?
So since I was 6 years old, the only job that has ever come out of my mouth was filmmaker. I told my dad at 6 years old, when he took me to the movies for the first time, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make those. So I've always had that in me. And then I did it. I said in 1997, I decided to stop waiting around for somebody to pick me up and do it. I was actually going to go to film school after I got out of the Marines, and then I didn't. And so I didn't do that. And so why not just try and make them? I started introducing myself to people in the community who wanted to do the same thing, and we got together and just did it. We started making films. And for me, it wasn't so much where it is with you, where it is, just trying it. But for me, it is my greatest failure. I was terrible at it. I was not good. I made 3 short films that will never, ever be seen by another person other than the people who've already seen it. And at least not right now. Maybe at some point when it's good to look back and go, see, even Joe Compton was terrible at it. That's when I'll probably put them out there. But again, I was, so it's my greatest failure. So I walked away from it because I just figured after 3 times, if I wasn't going to get it right, I wasn't going to get it right. But I did find I was pretty good at producing, and I was good at helping other people make their movies. And then other people have had success with me involved in that. So I did find that angle to be all right. But then but I've always wanted to do it, and I said to myself, well, now I'm 10 years older. 15 years now has gone by. I've learned a lot from other films. I've seen films that I love and understand now how they were made and what people did to do that, because I've talked to them and interviewed them, and I've met with a bunch of people. I've garnered more, networking, which is really in the film industry all about networking. Who is so important in the industry, and I've learned a lot. I spent a year in Hollywood. I worked in Hollywood. And so I understand all of it. And so I just figure I got a new lease on life earlier in the year. I got divorced. And so I don't have any tethers to me anymore. So now it's time to turn the corner and turn the page and go for it. It's almost like I've been handed the second chance. Why not take advantage of it? And I've never been afraid of that. So, the failure thing, if I fail again, I fail again. But I'm not worried about it. But I'm going to go for it. What do I have to lose? I've already failed, and it hasn't destroyed me yet. So why let it destroy me now?
So I'm going to go to my drawing thing, because I almost feel we're going to connect on this point. I almost feel we're going to connect here. I think so. So here's what terrified me about drawing: that I was going to be really bad at it.
Yeah.
Right. Really, really bad at it. And I don't embarrass easy. I think you know this. I really don't embarrass easy.
Yeah.
But this terrified me.
Yeah.
And because this is me putting myself out there in a way I've never done it before. Right. And that's kind of where, that's kind of where I was so, how do I put this?
Hesitant.
Unsure, right? Yeah. And then I realized, and actually the first 2 words in my comic's about a dragon that makes fun of the creator drawing it. And yes, there's definitely something to that. But the thing about that was the first 2 words are "you're afraid." And it's literally my creation, and it's kicking my ass for the first 10 pages about the simple fact that this is a terrifying prospect, and you need to do it because it terrifies you so much. Because you need to face your fear. Mm-hmm. I feel for you, this is also about facing your fears.
I think it's more of a redemption thing for me. I feel like I can do it now, whereas before I just did it to do it kind of thing. And that was the first time I did it, was definitely facing my fear of being able to do it and pulling it off. But I was also younger, and I had a bravado about me that was kind of arrogant and stupid, and thinking that it was easy to do, and it was anything but easy to do. And now I'm older and wiser, and I'm hoping that helps and makes it better. But the funny thing about film that's different than I think any other medium is that you don't know what you got until you've done it. And what I mean by that is you're on a set and things go chaotically wrong, or you think that you're looking through a lens and you think that you've got a shot, but then you realize when you go back there, the sound was off, or there was a plane in the background you didn't hear. There was a squirrel chirping right next to the actor who had the lav mic on them, and you hear the squirrel chirping and not the actor. These are all things you can't pick up on set. It's very difficult to figure all of that out. And just when you think you've got the right shot, and then you start to change your mind when you start to edit, and you realize you didn't get the opposite shot that you need, like that person should be on the left instead of on the right. There's continuity things that go wrong because you shoot out of sequence. So there's all these things that you have to be thinking about all the time. And you do, as I got through more films, I started to think about more of those on set and things like that. But it's the one medium where you're kind of in the dark until you've got it all made. And then after that, you have to put it together with what you have, because you can't go back, because there's no repeating. There's no chance you can get the same thing and the same feeling at that moment that you had when you first did it. So it's a really tough, it's kind of an exact science in a certain respect.
Well, I want to say something to the audience listening, watching this. Kids, always do multiple takes. Always. First and foremost. But second, go to elaborate on your point. Filming is a miracle. It's actually it's living. It is the embodiment, because there is so much that goes into making anything.
Yeah.
Your crew. It doesn't even matter. Like the people that are building your sets for you, they have to be your people.
Yeah.
And then on top, right, and then on top of the actors can make a script amazing.
Yeah.
They'll make it terrible too. I've seen both. I've seen pretty words die in film. It's like, I just like, how did that happen? Right.
Well, for any, I'll give a tip after you're done. Yeah. Sorry.
And then after, I've also seen the other way where an okay script, solid script for what it was,
Yeah.
and then the actor just brings something out into it, or the actress something out that you never saw. There is a confluence of the right circumstances, the right people at the right place at the right time. It's that is so when you see anything good on film, that all happened. That all happened at that time. There was the environment allowed for that to happen. If it was any other place, any other time, it would not work that way at all. And it's like I said, it's a miracle sometimes.
Yeah. The one tip I would give any young filmmaker is make sure that you pay attention to audio and lighting. Audio and lighting are super important, and they're the things that get missed the most. And if you pay attention to that, and you can build your story, you get your actors together, you can overcome a lot with that. But I mean, you still can't. You can't expect if you have bad acting or bad writing or bad shooting or anything like that. It all has to come together, like you said, like a miracle. But audio, if you pay attention to the audio and the lighting, that's going to help you tremendously. You're going to
little things matter. Like little things, like details matter. Especially like when you don't have the budget. Like when you don't have a budget, like actually storytelling fundamentals are so key, and you can do a lot with very little if you know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And you know the funny thing too is it's all subjective, right? At the end of the day, an audience decides whether they like it or not. Not how what you did or how you did it. And I've come full circle on that as well, because I've done some amazing. I'm sure you've had this. You've done amazing. You thought this was the most amazing show you did. You thought everybody's gonna love this show, right? And then nobody loves it, you know. And it's just like, all right, well, and then they love the one that you thought was the worst, right? The one that you had a headache that day, and you were interviewing, and you just didn't feel like you were in it, and all of a sudden it gets the most views, or gets the most likes, or gets the most comments, and you're going, why? Why can't you like the one that I really loved? Because you're not in control of that. That's not your decision. No. All you can do is make the best thing you could possibly do, and that's the satisfaction you have to carry with you. It's the thing that kills a lot of people in what we do. Is people get so frustrated that they don't get the views, they don't get the comments, that all of those things happen, and they quit because they feel like it's not worth it, and it's different. It's you know when you're in it that. If you feel it, it's on you. You feel it, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. You have no control over that, you know. So you have to do it because you love to do it.
So do you know my 8 rules, like my full 8 rules of success?
Uh-huh. Yes, I know.
Rule 4 is the one you're talking about there. The rest is rain. Uh-huh. But so this is the thing I recognized. So you've seen how I approach Twitch, right?
Yeah.
Right. I've approached it very much like a streamer does. Right. I actually think that my shows have gotten better since I've gone to this format, which is I am not much has changed really.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it as at all.
Well, yeah. But it's gotten better. And the only thing I can really think of, there's 2 things I feel that really work. It's one, so the biggest thing I'm missing this time is the fact that I can't go to a cafe or a bar with somebody and actually do a face-to-face interview.
Yeah, that's probably the one thing that's missing from what you're doing right now.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love that because that's my absolute. Those are where I do my absolute best stuff. But this is a close second. Like this is a really close second. And the thing about this is, right, I think that interaction that people can see when that is part of why this is done. Like I said, I'm halfway to being an affiliate already, and I've been doing this for a month, right? So it's one of those things where I look at it and I realize that it's a process. I've been putting out content for so long on so many different things. What I'm starting to notice with me now is it's catching up. Like what's happening is I'm getting interviewed more. I'm getting interviewed more. I'm getting seen more. More books are coming out too, which definitely doesn't hurt as well.
Yeah.
But because I'm constantly creative and I'm constantly doing things, I'm drawing people to me on various platforms. I think the one that blows me away is LinkedIn. I had nobody like 3 months ago on my LinkedIn, and now I'm at like 700 people, and I'm like, how did I do that? Because I'm literally all I'm doing, right, is what I do everywhere else. But it's just like it's growing, and my Facebook nearly doubled this year. I'm not sure what I did there, but it's one of those situations is where I recognize it wasn't just any one thing I did. It's the fact that I've been consistently doing things that I have basically made the universe go, he's doing stuff, people. He's doing it.
I think one of the things that you benefit from most is there's two things that I really appreciated about and admire about you is you have no fear. You brace it. If it comes in, you go for it. Even with the drawing thing, where you just were talking about how you had apprehension and you weren't sure about it, you're still going for it. You're still doing it, and whether you fail at it or not doesn't matter. You're doing it, and that's all that matters. And the other thing is that you celebrate every victory. You celebrate every little bit. Like you just said, you're halfway to affiliate status. If in 5 months you only gain 2 more followers, I guarantee you're going to do a post about those 2 followers. It's just you get it. You understand what it is that this is. It's a build. It's and that is, I think that's vital to staying in it and doing it, because the ones that survive and succeed aren't the ones that hit it right off the bat and get 10,000 followers. It's the ones that keep at it and keep at it and keep at it. And eventually that pays off. It pays off. It really does. If you can continually growing, then it's paying you off. It may not be as fast as you'd like. It may not be as much as you want. And it may not get you to where you want to be at that moment, but that's not in your control either. No. That's all that you can do is just keep growing. And if you do that, eventually, I mean, I'm an analytics guy. I like looking at my analytics. I like numbers. I like stats and all that stuff. And what I look at all the time is that the videos that I get looked at now, right at this moment, right now, are videos that I did 3 or 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. While the current videos are getting looked at, the ones that I did 3 or 4 years ago that I virtually gave up on and said, I don't promote them, I don't do anything with them, those are the ones people are looking at, because you don't control what people like. And so they're going to gravitate toward what they like. And if they're on your site looking for something they like, you've done something right.
Here's the thing. Like, this is the same thing like books. Books are all about backlinks. It's not about what you have going in the front. It's what you have in your rear, right? That's what it's always been. It's not. I look at the most successful creatives financially aren't necessarily making it on the book they're making right now.
Yeah,
the books they've already made years and years and years ago. Yeah. Right. So it's funny, it's
Jonas is a perfect example of that. Jonas is, now he's making it on his stuff now, but when he first got out of the indie realm into traditional realm, it was those backlogs that were helping him survive and sustain that.
That's what it is. Like what this is a game. This is like media creation, content creation, whatever it is you choose to create, is all about constantly creating stuff. That's it. And the secret to that is you find your medium, whatever your platform you want to do it on, and you say, this is mine now. I'm planting my flag. And that's it. Like, you plant it and you go, I'm waving it high. I like I said, I like Twitch because Twitch is, one, I feel it's still got a lot more potential, but 2, I'm a video gamer. Like, I still like video games, right? So I'm going to be like, when I'm done interviewing tomorrow, I am actually going to be doing some actual more traditional streaming during the holidays because, right? One, I kind of want to try it, kind of see if I can actually do it. But the other part about it is as well, why not? Like, this is the thing. Like, this is the community I'm in. Why not embrace it?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think also, it's funny because like everybody gave up on YouTube and everybody hates on YouTube, and people hate on Twitter and Facebook too. But I've stayed there, and and that's been to my benefit. I've because I didn't leave there. I didn't decide that I didn't go to the next great thing. I mean, I did, but I did that on top of what I'm doing.
Well,
And yes, people are amazed that I keep doing so many things, but I do know that you have to adapt and overcome, and you also have to go to the next big thing. Like Twitch is a big thing right now, so I'm on Twitch. I'm trying to make it work. But I also know that I'm never going to abandon YouTube because that's where I planted my flag.
Well, absolutely, and also, I mean, I'm on YouTube too. Like the thing was for me, like here's the sad truth for me, ladies and gentlemen. I never looked at YouTube as my end goal. I looked at it as a place to store my stuff. So now I'm like, but so what I did. So here's the difference. I model my YouTube so you can find me on Twitch. That's what I did. That doesn't mean I appreciate YouTube as well. I broke 100 subscribers, which is like, considering that it was a glorified storage space for like 7 years. I don't really feel that bad that I hit 100 followers, right? And like that's almost double what I started with this year as well. It's just because, and all I've been doing is clips, and I post my podcast episodes a week after they're done on Twitch, because that's just smart, right?
It's funny because I made a conscious effort this my fall season of programming on Fridays. I went live on Twitch every Friday from the start of the season to now, and actually I've tailored that even less now. And then I was doing simultaneous broadcasts through Twitch as well, and I stopped doing that because people were so used to me being on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So I just incorporated YouTube into the Twitch. And if there's still people who go on Twitch and like Twitch better, so they go on Twitch. And then there's the people who I got back who were upset that I went on Twitch, and I got them back onto YouTube because that's where they loved me and found me. And so now they're back on watching my shows, and I'm getting more airplay that way because I went back. And you get those moments when you want to separate yourself from where you planted your flag because you want to grow and you want to get on to the next thing, because if you miss the train, you miss the train. You'll never catch it again. So, right now Twitch is the thing that everybody's getting on that train, so you want to make sure you catch it in time. But at the same token, you can't ignore what has got you where it's gotten you.
Absolutely.
And if you do that, you're just doing a disservice to yourself.
Well, that's why I still do audios. That's why I think the difference between us is where we scale. That's all. Not necessarily that we scale.
Oh, yeah.
It's just where we scale. I decided that Twitch would be my model going forward. You decided YouTube. I'm not against using YouTube, but YouTube's not my be all or end all because I never used YouTube for that. Yeah. So it doesn't hurt me that YouTube. You can't be hurt with what you never had, right? So, right. And I still don't mind if people watch my YouTubes because honestly, I still will interact with you there, and I'm great, but it will never be live there because I don't. Yeah, like that's just for me, not where I want to be. I want to be here, right?
I have a feeling that you and I are similar in this regard too, though. I have ideas for everything else, like Instagram. I have ideas for TikTok. I have ideas for, but getting the time to do all that. To do that is more than it's more than even a full-time gig. It's a beyond full-time gig. And I've gotten to the point now where do I put all that effort into that and not see the reward that I've seen? Am I stunting? And also, I start to think, am I stunting my growth by putting my efforts behind all that? And I know I'm not, but I want to do more on those platforms. I just don't have the time. I just don't have the wherewithal to do it. And that's. I'm getting to the point where I have to make decisions about staffing and do I bring more people aboard and things of that nature. That's the point. That's a fundamental difference between what the two of us do, but it is similar in that respect that you do realize at a point you need help. And
oh yeah, no, absolutely, no. So for me, I think our goals with our platforms are a little different, not very different, but they're different. Like for you, I feel like you want to network. I want a show. They're both big projects, but yours is a lot more ambitious than mine on this platform, at least. Right?
I think we both want community too. I think that's
Yeah,
part
yeah,
of it.
absolutely, absolutely. No. To do this show, I have to want some kind of community to do
Yeah.
it. But I think the thing is, like for me, this is as much in part. I enjoy interviewing people. Like I just legitimately am passionate about it. How do you kill the bot, Jagtress? I don't actually know how to kill the bot.
I don't know that either. I'm not on Twitch.
Yeah, I know it's cool. I have people. I'm actually enjoying this. This is. Oh, okay. That's how you do it. Okay, I will do that. I will ban the ban hammer. Hold on a second here. Ban. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this right now. We're going to do my first ever. I'm going to pack the ban hammer. 852 456. What an annoying name. Like that? Or do I have to actually put it together? Okay, so anyways, the thing about it is yes. All right, all the bots will be like that. I will kill them all. I promise. Killing bots is what we do here on this show. But no, what the thing about me is I love interviewing people and I enjoy it. But I just love creating. Like so for me, like Instagram is I know exactly what I'm going to do with Instagram.
Yeah.
But here's the thing though. I kind of know where going, yes, banning the ban hammer.
That's nice. I like that.
The ban hammer for today is bot XAZ 852-45681. Just cause. But anyways, I digress. The thing about for me is like Instagram because I'm doing comics. So Instagram and comics, like I figured out a long time ago what I'm going to do with Instagram. But the thing is, for me, my niche is a creative. What I want to do. I'm not sure TikTok fits my model. That isn't like, and that's like. Here's the thing, right? Like everything's about your niche. Everything's about your niche. So this fits because I'm a gamer, right? Yeah. I'm a gamer as much as I am an interviewer. I'm a gamer as well.
Yeah.
This is not like if I decide, I decided to do a Final Fantasy marathon. That's not really out of my personality or out of my wheelhouse, right? Right. It's not.
Yeah.
If I decide to do Persona, that would be the other game I would do, or a Tales game. Also, not out of my wheelhouse. One day I might just do that.
Yeah.
Just because, right? So I could do that here. Instagram, I already know. Like the moment I saw Instagram, I actually saw a Saturday morning strip, like a comic strip thing for Instagram, and it just fits. I know I could do that. It wouldn't even be a big deal for me. It would be just something fun, right, to do. Eventually, I make the big time. I hit Webtoon. I get 1 million subscribers and make zillions and zillions of dollars. But Instagram would be the like for me. Instagram is Saturday morning.
We think very similar in that approach because as soon as I knew exactly what I wanted to do on Instagram, as soon as and I've done it a few times. I want to be more consistent with it, and that's the difficult part.
No, and that's where I'm at too. Like to be perfectly honest with you, I know like the TikTok train will not be mine. I've accepted the fact that train, I'm just gonna let it go like this.
Yeah.
Right, because it's not that I hate the idea of TikTok, but it just to me it's like I got Twitter, I get work there, can't leave. Yeah. I'm doing okay on LinkedIn, which is weird to me because I don't really care, but it seems to be going okay.
Yeah.
Facebook, I'm growing. Instagram, I'm growing. YouTube and Twitch. I mean, that's plenty.
Yeah.
Right? That's plenty right there. YouTube is not even primary. It's just like it's a secondary goal. If I make it, fantastic. If I don't, I would like it to make it there because, hey, listen, if Google and Amazon pay me money, I'm all for that, right? I mean, who wouldn't want that, right? Talk about job security, right? Hey, financial security, right? But again, looking at it, hey, for JAG, it would be 6, 7, 13. Those would be the ones I do, and maybe 15. because I heard I would like 15. A friend of mine recommended it, so I tried 15. But the thing about it, right, is I look at it strictly from the point of view that you have to choose what you're going to do. Figure out who you are as a creative. Like, who are you? What do you do? And how do you bring it? Yeah. Who doesn't listen, Jag? If anyone doesn't like Final Fantasy VII, something's wrong. Just saying. Also, I would play 8 because I play Final Fantasy 8. But again, going back to what I'm saying here, right? It's just we all know who you got to be honest with who you are, right? Right. And if for me, I mean, I can be ridiculous on Twitch. I don't need to be ridiculous on TikTok. That's just how I look at it. I mean, you were here last night,
and yes, and see that's where TikTok helps me, because then I can do the little things that I don't have to be so structured about doing, and so that's kind of where TikTok will help me, and I'll gain from that a little bit, and so I have been investing a little time in there and over there, but
and it's worth it for you, like totally. And by the way, I'm not no knock to it. I'm just honest with that with me, right?
Yeah, and to be quite frank with you, I don't know. I mean, I have a presence on Twitch, but here's the thing. I really love how Twitch does their stuff. I think they're probably the best at affiliate marketing and affiliate, programming and monetizing that I've seen out there. And I've seen a lot of them, and I've been through a lot of them. And I think they're probably the best at it that I've seen. And that's my motivation for being on Twitch. But I'm not the Twitch audience, right? I don't do role-playing games. I don't do video games, not at present, and not to say that I won't, because I have a market niche there too with indie stuff. I could do indie role-playing games. I could do indie video games pretty easily, and all of those things. And I would, if I had the time and invested the time in it, and that's probably when Twitch will become beneficial for me. But I wanted to be here just to plant a little flag, just placeholder.
We like for us, like your YouTube is my Twitch, right? And that's it's totally fine. Like we all have our approaches, right?
Absolutely.
And the fact of the matter is, you'll be king of the YouTube because YouTube is all about network executives and all that stuff. And I can totally see it one day. You'll show up like a gangster, cool shades, doing like the jazz, doing like the Blues Brothers thing, right?
Yeah.
And Joe, I run this place, and just like and that's totally it. Like for me, I look at like I'm a sole proprietor type of entrepreneur. I could definitely be partnered with people, but I think I play best when I play under my own rules. I've learned this already kind of a long time ago, and I could, if I have to incorporate, that requires me to be a bigger adult and I'm comfortable being. Right. So
how did you handle your writing? Did you just did sole proprieting writing, and you're just going to go that route, or you because I mean, at some point too, you're thinking about traditionally publishing as well. So are you?
So here's my traditional publishing question. Just going forward for me. Right, because just based on the fact that I'm in a unique position in the sense that I'm kind of a brand already.
Yeah,
that kills a lot of smaller publishers to work with for me, because I'm bigger than some of the publishers out there already.
Yeah,
and that wasn't right. That wasn't my intention exactly, but it kind of happened.
Yeah.
Right? So, I'm in a very unique spot with this because I have a publisher. I have some publishers I really like and I would really like to work with.
Mm-hmm.
But what it comes down for me to is this: what do you offer that I can't get on my own?
Yeah.
Right. That's my whole business question. Right. If you okay, I'm going to have next year a comic book going. I'm going to have next year another novel series. I'm going to have 3 novel series in various forms going. That's my business, like my writing business model for me. I'm going to tell my stories, and I'm going to build intellectual property. Why?
Yeah.
Because it makes sense to do
Yeah.
that. I'm going to still do my show on a regular basis as well. So as far as me doing things for free in terms of for anybody else, no, I'm not doing that. I'm past that point. You have to come to me with an offer for something I do not have on my own now.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'm not going to work with you. It's not even like how do I put this? It's not even personal.
Yeah.
I have to look at this realistically. I have to invest excess amount of time into something for my publisher. Why do I even have my publisher? Right? Now, there are some things that I will. There are some things that make sense on the marketing end that I should be involved with. But let's get real here. I mean, I can get people to interview on my podcast, and like a surprisingly interesting range of people to come on my podcast to interview. So I have access to a lot of different venues and realms right on my own.
Yeah.
So I can promote in places already that traditionally publishers can't promote.
Yeah.
So what are you offering me that I can't? So what are you offering me?
Right.
Because it's also why I don't have a publicist. Right?
Yeah.
Do I do it? It's funny. Like because I don't seek permission. I just do things. You know that, right? And that's a problem in one sense because someone's trying to offer me something. Well, I can go get it. So what? I mean that becomes a lot trickier, right? And if I find a hit, God help them if I ever make a hit, because my price is going to be through the fucking roof at that point. But that's how you gotta look. That's how you gotta look at it, right? You can't. I don't care about validation. I got that. Like I already have. I've been validated. I don't need that validation anymore.
You've come to the point that a lot of actors deal with. This happens to a lot of actors. I've seen it. I've lived it with many actors. They'll start out and do everything. They'll do the student films. They'll do the bit parts. They'll PA on film sets just to be on a film set and to get knowledge and get contacts, and they'll do all that. But at a certain point, you become the guy that does everything for free, and everybody knows that. So they come to you first with a part. And that might be the juiciest part you've ever seen. But at some point, you've got to turn to them and go, no, I have a price, and this is the price you have to pay to get me. You want me on your set, this is what you got to do that. And and people will, those people will take it personal, but it's not personal. It's business. It's not show friends, it's show business. And if you want to be an actor that makes it to the next level and to the next level and to the next level, you got to constantly be doing that. Because if you don't, you're going to be the guy that does student films your whole life and never see time and wonder why you don't get paid for 30 years of acting,
Absolutely. No, so I had an opportunity to get on a radio station. A friend of mine got me a link. I go, what does it pay? I go, well, not beans. It's like, no.
Yeah.
No, I can't. Yeah. So I had a friend of mine give me a real interesting piece of advice at the start of my freelancing career. A really good friend. I will say a friend, not necessarily a good friend, but he gave me two really good pieces of advice. The first is know what you're worth. Second, believe in abundance, and it'll come. That doesn't, again, if I believe in you something or I believe in you, I might go at a discount. But the one thing I also learned this year, this is the other thing I learned as a freelancer this year, your friends are the worst, in some ways, the best and worst people to work for, because it's not even it's one of those things where I realized that how do I put this? I had to let go. I actually had to fire a friend over the summer. I'm not gonna mention who it is. You might know, but if you don't know, I'm not going to tell you. But it was a lesson in. I recognize what I've also been through is I've also been through the ringer already once or twice as well. And so what I look for certain telltale signs. And if I see those telltale signs spring up in different ways, I won't one of them's not a fireable offense, but when I start seeing multiple, my flag goes up, and then at that point, I have to recognize, like, why am I here? And it's funny, somebody else on my Facebook offered a very similar deal to what they offer, and I told them, it's like, it's not good enough. You're gonna have to give me more money. It's also why my audiobook price is so high. I know the work that's required to do an audiobook, to build one from scratch. I've done it. I was happy to do it. I learned so much. It made even my audio better. Yeah. But now I'm like, I'm not going to come in, and I'm not, I know what I'm worth.
Yeah.
And if my friends won't pay it, somebody else will. That's how I look at it.
It's funny too, because you meet a lot of people who are figuring out whether they want to be full-time writers or full-time this or full-time that. And the first thing that you have to do when you become full-time is be full-time. Mm-hmm. And once you do that, like I went to Hollywood, I chucked everything and ran to Hollywood and said, okay, I'm going to spend time here and see if I can make it as a writer or as a filmmaker or whatever I can get onto. I'm going to try it and do it. And I got a job that got me some attention, and I lucked into that, which really I don't think I lucked into, because I worked that person enough to get into that angle. And once I got that, I never had to worry again. I could have still been there right now doing what I was doing, and yet and slowly making more money every time I did it. And that's, like you said, you set a price, and you realize, and there was somebody who actually bid me off of another thing that I was doing because they were willing to pay me more, because they knew that if they offered me the same thing with a little bit more control, it wasn't the control that I was looking for, it was the money. So that's what they figured it out, because they're smart there. So they said, okay, you can do this with a little bit more control and a little bit more money. How about that? And of course, yeah. But you realize that those opportunities come because you no longer carry that fear. You no longer decide. You just decided you're going to do this. And once you decide that, boom.
See, and I think so. You notice I've been doing this 5 days a week.
Yeah.
You notice that I've been putting the effort in and night out.
Yeah.
Guess what I decided to do full time?
This.
Yes. Right. That's the thing. Like I found my niche.
Yeah.
I think I found my niche. I'm good at this. I'm better, and this is a bit of ego, but it's also, I think, just the way I see it.
Yeah.
I'm a better interviewer than practically everybody. I believe that with all my heart and soul. I believe I do some amazing conversations with everybody. And I believe that I bring something of real worth, not only to the person I'm interviewing, but to the people watching this as well.
Yeah.
And because of that, and you have something good when a 13-year-old is skipping class to watch you do stuff. Right? You got something here. So the thing is, I know, and I'm actually going with Jack's comment for full time, is like, this is my job. Nothing else is, like, I'm doing other things, but I don't care.
Yeah.
And it comes right down to it. I mean, at this point in my life,
welcome to the Secret Handshake Club, because that's exactly what it is. Is like, Going now is not my full-time gig. It's my full-time gig, but it's not what pays me. It's not what I make a living at. Right? I don't make a living doing Going now, but I do it all the time. But the things I do make a living at, or the things that pay me, are just things that pay me. And I've separated the two, and I've learned that those two things can work together. And why not? And I'm not killing myself. What am I doing? I don't have a wife anymore. I don't have, I have a family, but they're far away. So I see them when I see them, and I make time to do that. And I've learned all of those things and how to balance all those things too. But at the same token, why fix something that's not broken? So I go for it. I know what I can do, and I know how to do it, and that's what I do. So,
Yeah.
and in that respect, I can keep going now, going forever because
Well, see, now I think, and this is different. I figured out. I have actually figured out my strategy for turning this into something financially lucrative.
and so have I. And
Yeah,
don't get
yeah.
me wrong. You know this. We've had this conversation
Oh yeah,
before.
absolutely.
I have a plan, and it's going the way I want it to go. So I'm
You know,
not.
that's good. No, that's good. For me, I'm looking forward to when I hit affiliate status here. I have a Patreon page up, or I even have a sponsorship package there. So I'm looking at that now. Like that's what I'm looking at because I built an audience. So
Yeah.
my audience, ergo, is worth some form of financial thing. Now the audience is growing, and that's where YouTube is handy. The more subscribers I have here, the more followers I have here. That's more leverage for me. This is business 101.
Yeah.
When you do a show, your business, your product is ultimately your audience, not your content. The content's free. The audience is what is, and that's business.
But you can't get one without the others, which is the rub.
Yeah,
so you don't have
exactly.
content. Ultimately, you might be the flash in the pan. You might be the guy. You might be the viral video. But if you don't have any other, how many YouTube videos have you seen where they go viral and then they have like 1,000 subscribers, but then you look at their video and they have like 12 views on important videos that they wanted you to see? It's because they don't know how to market those things. They only knew how to go viral with that one video, and they thought that was going to be what caught them fire, and it's not. You have to have the content to back up what you're doing and how you're strategizing as well.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I'm still working on getting my game exactly right, but But again, I just transferred over to kind of like to the full broadcasting thing. So I'm really not. I think I'm doing the right thing. 2 clicks.
Yeah, you're still starting. So there's tiers and levels to this too. And you can still experiment at the point I'm at. You can still experiment. I do it, but you learn how to do it a little bit more careful, or you learn what works and doesn't work, and all those things that comes with time. That's not something that is gained right off the bat, right? So, and you're in that part of time where you're just having fun and experimenting, and it shows, and that's what people are going to gravitate toward, and they have.
Yeah,
you're good at that.
Yeah. So, well, thank you. Thanks. You're good. You're good. You're good. Like I said, you do my favorite writing shows. It's funny because very quietly, like here's the thing. There's a lot of writing shows out there, right?
Yeah.
But yours, I think the problem with writing shows is they just attract writers. It's hard to actually get readers to come to your shows.
Yeah.
Right. And because writers are trying to get into the business, and that's their angle, that's their motive. And don't get me wrong, there are some great writing shows. I can think of a couple. One of them, I could say Spilling Ink's a really good show, good version of that. But I think, and this is kind of how it was, again, and this is one of the approaches with my show too. It's one of the reasons why we don't just talk about writing on my show.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and you're a good conversationalist, so conversation is really what your show's about. It's not about writing, or because you've had other artists on your show. You've had musical guests. You've had non-artists on your show. I mean, you've done a gamut of different people with different things. You had a goal. I mean, I don't know if you want me to talk about this, but you had a goal once of interviewing homeless people and doing podcasts.
Well, that was what was going to happen in Vancouver before the pandemic happened, right?
So you understood your concept is a conversation, and you know your brand, you know who you are, and that's everything. That's you don't have to spend the time to discover that. What you have to spend the time is discovering what is going to get the audience to get, and if you could do other things other than having conversations, like play video games and get an audience, you'd love to do that, and that's nothing wrong with that.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm now, and this to me is the visual part. This is my first time really in the visual realm. So what I'm looking at is different things I can do visually that are different, because conversation's great, and that's going to be the heart and soul of what I do. But like, I like the drink and draw. It's my favorite thing I'm doing right now. It's so much fun because I'm getting it opens a different dimension out of it. Games would also be a different dimension out of it. And like I said, I'll be trying all kinds of stuff early next year. But all in all, I've been like from my end, I've been impressed with the growth. And that's for you. I mean, it sounds like, you know, with your movies and stuff like that, you're gonna be having the time of your life very soon.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know about time of my life, but I certainly think that it's going to be something that I'm going to be excited about, and we'll see how it goes. But look, I'm just going to do what I want to do now. That's how I look at it. Look, I'm on the other. I'm looking at the other side of the hill right now. You know, I've got a long way to go. I'm not checking out of the climb anytime soon. At least I'm not going to try to. But I am closer to the top of the hill than I was when I first started making movies. So I'm just gonna. I know what. I'm not gonna look down. I don't have to look back. I can just look at the top of the hill and go, okay, I can still do this and catch the top of the hill as well. Because, you know, there's no rhyme or reason as to when you catch fire. There's no rhyme or reason as to when something happens for you. It just does. But I can guarantee you, the one thing that everybody has in common that catches fire and that it happens for is that they're doing it because they love to do it, and they started doing it because they wanted to do it. And when you do that, everything changes. Everything changes because you just keep going and not worry about it. And like I said, if I fail, I fail. It is what you got to do. I mean, but I think the biggest failure for me is not doing it.
Well, no, that's the only way to truly fail. You don't look. Here's what I learned. Okay, I published my first book in my 20s. Very first book was a book of poetry. I learned how to sell. I failed in terms of making money. I didn't make money, but that book led me to the opportunity to work for one of my heroes. Even though that whole relationship soured, right?
Yeah.
I'll never forget. Like, I had like very few people get that opportunity in their lives to work for actually one of their heroes, and I will be forever grateful I got that chance. I have no regrets that I went and did it, in spite of everything that happened. I don't it was a great opportunity for me, and I learned so much about who I am going through that experience in my life. That failure led to me making movies up and I've got an IMDb page. I've done some short film stuff already, so I already have that under my belt. That led to me getting back into the publishing industry, which I wrote a book and I accidentally got it published. I mean, seriously, how many people have that?
Yeah.
Had that go. And then from there, I had a conversation with Rob Sawyer because I had a smartphone, and I accidentally started a podcast because Robert Sawyer said I did a podcast. That is literally everything I've done has led somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, that's why there's no, like, does life work how you want it? Hell no, never does. ever. But
I mean, if you told me I would only be married for 10 years and only be married for 10 years, I would have told you were crazy. I mean, because then do I look back and go, was those 10 years a waste of my life? No, I mean, that's not how you can't view it like that. You can't. Things happen. It just does. You gotta roll with it. I mean, it's life. It's it's a thing that you and I have had conversations about countless times off air and around. It's just when you've been to the bottom, there's nothing you fear anymore. You can't, because why? Well, what's gonna do? What's it gonna do? Kill you? Okay, kill me. Come on.
That's it. You come to that point. Like it's funny to me because I'm literally the man with nothing right now, and and this was completely deliberate. I'm literally the man with nothing. I fear nothing.
Yeah.
I am so ridiculously bulletproof, right? That I don't think people understand. Like there's 2 points in your life where you have no fear. When you have nothing and when you have everything. That's it. And everything in the middle, you're always afraid to lose something.
Yeah.
Nothing. So you know what? If tomorrow I decided I was going to take a walk across the country, I could do it, and there's not a goddamn thing anyone would do to stop me. There's nothing, right? Right.
Yeah. I mean, I decided one day to just jump out of a plane. I said, I don't really want to do it. It doesn't really feel like something I would want to do, but you know what? It's something that everybody fears doing. And I said, you know what? I don't fear it. So why not go for it? Why not give it a try? Maybe I'll like it. And I ended up liking it, and I ended up doing other things with it. And it led to actually other things that happened in my life. So, but it's like, there's just, you can't, you can't fear it, because if it's going to cripple you, that's the thing that's going to destroy you. It's not.
Oh yeah, no, like the biggest thing. Okay, so we've avoided the world today very much. There's one thing I'm going to bring about the world today. Here's the thing I don't ever buy in, and I never have, and I never will. It's safety. It doesn't exist. It's not real. It is maybe like I want to feel safe. The honest truth of the matter is, every day you wake up, and you walk out that door, there is a chance you're not coming back. Life's a risk. That is the way it is. So if I really want to play safe, I can stay at home. I can play video games my whole life. But here's the thing. I'm not going to go out living. And the thing is, I would rather, right? Sometimes, Jag, you're right. Even not leaving your house is a risk. The fact that you're awake is a risk. So here's the thing. At some point, right, we're all going to say, fuck this. Because at some point, the risk versus the reward. Like, safety is all over. Hey, I'm not reviewing. I'm not making any pot shots at you, Jag. I really, honestly, I would not dare. You're tougher than I am. You probably would kick my butt, try to make me into like a pretzel. But the truth of the matter is on that. But the thing about that is, right, you get nothing in life playing it safe. Nothing. Yeah. You stay exactly where, you know what safety actually is? Safety actually is familiarity. That's all it is. I am familiar with this. I am comfortable with this. But at some point, you gotta say, "Fuck it."
Yep.
Who cares? It's funny. I'm currently like house sitting with my dad. I'm planning on doing it to March. March is kind of like my magic date in my head, where this either worked in this incarnation or it didn't. Although I think. Here's the weird thing. I think I'm going to be at that point where it's growing butt. That's where I think this is going to end up. Growing butt. And now I'm going to have to think about what else I want to do.
Right.
That's where I think I'm going. Here's the thing. I'm like, really, it doesn't matter what I do at this moment. So what's the most fun thing I can do right now? And I'm just going to do that because I have no fucks to give. Yeah. Right. And that's where I'm at.
Yep.
And if everybody wants to, like, that's why I don't do the stay safe thing, because it's not real to me. It's the biggest lie we tell ourselves. Stay safe is very demolition, man. I'm too old for that shit. I'm at that point where it's like, what is the point of that? Might as well, it's like, if tomorrow I'm gone, did I do everything I wanted to do in this life? Mm-hmm. And if the answer is yes, then I lived on. Right? That's it. No, Jag, I was not lurking in your living room. You were looking here on my podcast. That's what you were doing yesterday. Both times.
I'll even take that a little step further. For me, it's not so much because I don't think it could ever do everything I've ever wanted to do. I just think that it's gonna end at one point, and that's just
sure.
But the one thing I will say is that, was I happy today? And was I happy yesterday? Was I happy the day before? Did I? And you can't be happy all the time. That's just ridiculous. And you can have bad days, and you can have days when you're not happy. But for the most part, I look at that and go, why wasn't I then? If I wasn't happy, why wasn't it? What was I not doing that I should be doing or want to do? And then I go and do it, and again, you can't fulfill everything. You can't do everything. But if you just gotta live. I mean, because you know what's going to happen? It's the Zen Master and the little boy, right? The Zen Master of a village. There was a 14-year-old boy, and everybody at the village loved the little boy and said, how beautiful this little boy was. And he got a horse for his 14th birthday. And then he fell off the horse and broke his leg. And everybody says, oh, how terrible for the little boy that he broke his leg. And Zen Master says, we'll see. And then there was a coup in the village, and they had to go to war. And he was still had a broken leg, so he couldn't go to war. And everybody goes, "Oh, how wonderful! He doesn't have to go to war. He can stay here in the village, and he'll be okay." And because everybody was dying in the war. And the Zen Master says, "We'll see." So I mean, that's the kind of thing that I look at, right? And I go, but I don't think about whether or not it matters. I just do it. Right, and then we'll see.
For me, I'm gonna tweak it slightly. Just tweak it. I think it's the same idea, but I think it's a more complete way of expressing it. Happiness is an impossible state to maintain all the time. It's not about trying to be happy. Are you pursuing joy? Are you pursuing the things that give you joy and passion and fill you with life?
Yeah.
Right. Christopher Lee at 90 years old cut his first rock song.
Yeah.
Right. Isn't that fucking cool? At 90.
Awesome. It's a great album too.
Yeah. So here's the thing. The lesson. Am I going to do everything I set out to do in this life? Probably not. It's impossible. But am I pursuing joy to the point that when I see death again, I'll be ready to jump into what's next? Whether it's oblivion or not, like what the purpose of life is to live.
Yeah.
And for all of us, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
And we all have to stay true to whatever it is we are that we pursue. That's life. Like life is not about, am I going to be protected from something for the rest of my life? Who cares? You're not. That doesn't really matter. Here's what matters. Did you when you felt that compunction to do what Jag does, review video games she loves? Did you do it? Did you feel that compunction to jump up a plane like you did? Did you do it? Did you feel that compunction to ask that girl out because she's hot and you're nervous and scared and jittery? Did you do it? Did you feel that compunction to bake that cake you always wanted? Did you ever pursue whatever it is that is inside you that says you must do that voice? There's a Bible quote I really love. It's called, "Many are called and few are chosen." I always thought that was a bit of a misquote. Many are called, but few choose. That's that is to me the honest thing. Will you be one of those that chooses to go with you? We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
So, which leads to the last thing I want to talk to you about. The last thing, and then we'll let it be. I'm writing stuff. I'm illustrating stuff on podcast. I am pretty fulfilled that way. There are some other things I'm trying to seek fulfillment on. It's really hard to find a date in the apocalypse. I will say that is a very awkwardly difficult thing to do right now. So
imagine
I haven't tried, but it is a bit more awkward right now than it would be in more saner times.
Yeah.
So, but besides that, I think I've done everything I really wanted to do in this time.
Right.
You, writing, books. You gonna do more of that? Is that in your horizon, or are you content with just doing film?
Well, just like you, I have many oars in the fire, many plans, and next year, yes, I have 1900. I was surprised actually because I had started the third book to this series that I've been writing. It's a trilogy. I decided it was a trilogy after I decided to write the second book. I wasn't sure I was going to write the second book, but I decided I was going to go into a third book from that, because I think all good things are trilogies. That's just how I look at it. If you're going to do multiples of it, I look at it, you should do a trilogy. It just makes sense. It's just, so I decided to do that. And I actually, as soon as I finished the second book, I started writing the third book. And I wrote for like a month. And after that, I stopped. I didn't write because I was doing other things and things got in the way. And of course, COVID happened and divorce happened and all this stuff. But regardless, I just looked at it the other day because I was talking to my editor about it, and I looked at it and I go, yeah, I think I have like 1,400 words written or something like that of the other book. And then I looked at it and I had 1,900 words. So I even surprised myself at how much I had already done. So with that, I look at it and go, okay, so, I'm gonna sit down and after I have a period of time where I'm going to take this script I'm going to give it to people that I trust to beta read it or to give coverage on it and rip me apart and give me honest feedback about it and do that. And once I do that, during that time while they're doing that, I'll start writing the book again. And so I have plans to, incrementally do all that. And we'll see how far I get. I may not finish the book because once the script comes back, I'm going to want to absorb
absolutely.
digest that and do that, because I do have this takes time to build. To get a movie made is not like, okay, you're going to decide tomorrow and make it. You can do that, which I have, and that's part of the reason I failed, because you have to get money, you have to get things done, you have to make sure you're paying the right people and getting the right people, and all those things take time. That's not something especially now when you can't go out and do those things, right? So I do have this window where I have to wait. And so in that time period, like you said, I got to be doing something creative. I'm going to be, obviously I'm still always doing Go Indie now, and that's not going to stop. But I will also take a little bit more time to do my stuff this next year. And so that's the third book. That's the short film. And then getting ready to do the feature, probably 2022. That's what I'm looking at. So, and then I also started another book that's completely void of any series or anything like that I've written in a few times now, and I just haven't found it hasn't found its legs yet. So I'm writing scenes and anything that come up with, I'm putting it in that, and we'll see if that comes into something. And maybe I'll even have a fourth book out by 2022. But I'm only concentrating on the one book because I know me, and I know that's probably the better way to do this. But again, as we go along, the film thing just happened, right? October came around, and I go, okay, well, NaNoWriMo's here. We're kind of, it's been kind of a crappy year. Why not try NaNoWriMo? What can I do for NaNoWriMo? I don't want to write a book. Okay, I had this idea an idea for a screenplay came to me during this time. And I said, okay, well, I'll flush that out and see how that works. And surprisingly, it was beautiful. It was like butter. It was like putting a knife through butter. And it's starting to work. And I just went for it. And now it's a full blown, I'm going for it. So you never know. I'm always leave room in the calendar for something to happen that will lead me to whatever that leads me to. And I'm open for that. And on top of that, never stop doing what I'm already doing. So, that's how I look at it.
That's cool. So Joe Compton, writer extraordinaire, at top of producer and network executive extraordinaire, which is just how I like it, I think. And Jag, you're absolutely right. It always starts. You just do things and things happen. That's just that. Ultimately, rule 4 is the theme of this podcast. The rest is rain. You just go let's go where the rain falls. My friend, I want to thank you for everything you did for me this year. I really appreciate the fact that you.
Vice versa.
Yeah. I really appreciate the fact that you've been in my corner. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas before we wrap this up properly here. But you've been an amazing dude. You are an amazing dude, and I really am rooting for you next year to get. I'm hoping to see, because for me, I know you love books, but you love films more. So I'm hoping that opportunity comes up for you next year. I really
it's going to happen. Whether it becomes whatever it becomes, is that, again, I don't worry about the control aspect of it. But
that's fair. I don't know. That's fair. I'm just saying, like, for you, because that would up your joy factor by a significant. Like, you got that next year, so that's why I'm rooting it for you.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a little redemption. That's what I'm hoping for, but we'll see. I mean,
yeah. So real quick before we get you to do the plugs, Jag, no, thank you for coming and being part of the show. You've been
awesome comments, Jag. Thank you.
Yeah. So there is that, but Joe, I feel this is the time you got to plug your stuff. So plug your stuff.
All right. So you can find what we do at Go Indie Now, basically at goindienow.com, or the YouTube channel, which is, if you search Go Indie Now, either all one word or 3 separate words, I'm the first one that pops up on any search that you do. So Go Indie Now. INDIE. Go Indie Now. And then we're on Instagram at Go Indie Now. We're on Facebook at Go Indie Now. So facebook.com/Go Indie Now. We're on TikTok as Go Indie Now. The only weird one is Twitter, because some asshole bot picked up Go Indie Now and wanted $65,000 for the name. And I told them go fuck themselves. And I
Joe, to that guy right now.
Yeah, right. So that's the only one on Twitter. So on Twitter, I'm Joe Dream 73, and I have 2 books out right now. Amongst the Killing, which is a crime thriller. It's a dual detective versus mass murder dual perspective novel, and then the sequel, which is We the Moral Majority, which follows some of the characters from the first book into the second book, and it's a story about how politics is not just a crime; it's part of the lexicon of crime. So that's basically, it's called We the Moral Majority and Amongst the Killing, and that's me in a nutshell.
All right. So everybody, thank you very much for watching this podcast/broadcast. If you want to support what I'm doing, hit the subscribe button on either my YouTube channel, Josh Pantelleresco, or I would really love twitch.tv/JustJoshingPodcast. Hit that. Hit the subscribe button.
We're on Twitch too. Twitch TV/Go Indie Now. Sorry.
There you go. Good to see you. Go Indie Now. So hit the subscribe button. I have my books, Alice Zero and the Cloud Diary, which came out this year. You can get on Amazon. Coming soon is Lights Out. And that's going to be, it looks like February 1st is going to be the release for that one. But all in all, stay inspired, keep surfing in the chaos, and stay shining in the darkness. And I will see you guys tomorrow for my final interview of the year.
We'll see.